Hello, everybody. This is Valdette from Aroma Veda, and I'm here today with someone who I feel so blessed to be able to speak with. Her name is Acharya Shunyaji. Um, it's my honor and privilege to speak with her, and a little bit of her background is that she's a renowned teacher of Advaita Vedanta Ayurveda and the founder of Vedika Global, a best-selling author of the book Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom. A School with a Difference, Vedika Global's free offerings to the global community awaken health and consciousness via three systems: Ayurveda, Yoga, and Vedanta. For those who don't know, the word Acharya is a title from the Sanskrit language, which signifies master spiritual teacher. So thank you so much, Shunyaji, for taking the time to speak with me and speak with our audience on a few topics in Ayurveda related to spirituality, skincare, beauty, plants.
It's such a pleasure to join you, Valdat. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So the first question I want to start with is an interesting topic. It's about face assessment. There are Ayurvedic doctors and practitioners use many different protocols to assess somebody's constitution, to understand maybe where there's some imbalance. Um, So I wanted you to explain a little bit more about how does face assessment work and what can we tell from a person by simply just looking at their face?
That's a great question. And believe it or not, there is a science to it. And our ancient scriptures of Ayurveda, Valdat, that go back to, we have the Charak Samhita, which we are placing between 1 BCE and 1 CE. And even in that, we have details on the face, the size of the eyes, the look in the eyes. Is it sharp or is it soft? Is it calm or is it, intense? The size of the lips, the size of the nose. So when we study Ayurveda to become its practitioners or healers, known as Vedya, we look at the entire body, but specifically the face. And when a person who wants to be healed or come into their wholeness um, goes to a Vedya or a healer, the word Vedya comes from the root of Sanskrit vid, V-I-D, to know. What do they know? They know because of some knowledge that they have received in the education process. So the Vedya or the healer is meant to do three things. One is prashanam, or ask questions, which give you a clue not only to their disease, but to the kind of person they are.
Mm.
Then, so that's prashanam. Maybe touch by taking the pulse or looking at the temperature of the joints or the skin, which is
Mm.
known as sparsham. But there is another silent and secret technique that's going on, which is known as darshanam, or observation. And this is where we would look at the client's face and be able to start making some assessments as to whether they are dominant in which energy system, known as dosha, vata, pitta, or kapha. And that helps because then we are able to pretty much know what challenges they may be facing, what would be their response to certain food items. And so it's very, very useful. And we can even tell the temperament of the person and typically how much patience they would bring to a session. So if they have more kapha face, which is bigger eyes, calm face, lucid, smooth skin, um, probably we can go a little slow and gentle and take the time we take because kapha bring a lot of patience to their discussion. But if they have sharp features, sharp eyes, you know, and a petite but intense face, Well, the Vaidya better get it right, be lucid in their explanation, and keep it concise, and be ready to answer questions.
Right.
And if the person has a face where there are, quick expressions changing on the face, maybe the one eye is um, a little bit smaller or bigger than the other, not obvious. You have to look carefully, you
Huh.
know, or the eyes dart about a lot, and things like that. You see air element being dominant. And so then you want to be more reassuring and quick because the attention may also be short. It's fascinating.
That's so fascinating. And is it true that you can also assess something that's going on internally with a person's health
Yes.
and maybe organ system based on lines or based on breakouts or, in areas of their face? Is that true?
Yes, these kinds of teachings are not mentioned in the scripture as such, but they are part of our oral tradition. But I think it takes years to
Huh.
get there because
Okay.
there are definitely, like our face is known as darpan or the mirror of the entire being.
Wow.
And
So
so
beautiful.
somebody could walk into to my grandfather Baba, my teacher, and he could just look and know that this person has a sluggish liver,
Hmm.
or they have prana congestion, or they have mental issues. And I used to think it's a miracle, but now in my almost 54th year, I can tell too. So I think it is experience plus divine grace.
Wow.
When they come
Beautiful.
together, that's what happens. Yeah.
Ah, it's something to aspire to, that's for sure. But very
Yes.
fascinating. I mean, just it's so different from what you get here in the West as far as diagnostics and assessments and things like that. So I think it's just very fascinating, and I hope that people find it also interesting and worth looking into. So, second question I have is that recently I read somewhere that Ayurveda can not only be seen as something that adds years to your life, but it adds, more importantly, life to your years, right? So I found that that was really a beautiful way, an expression of trying to demonstrate what Ayurveda is really about. So how does that work, and what does that mean to add years to a person's life? Not only is it for longevity, increasing the amount of years we're here, but adding years to life, the vibrancy, vitality, things like that. How does Ayurveda work that way?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful life affirming science. It is not just about battling disease, well, that, or, being one up on germs out there, it is about remembering that you're a divine being and you've been given this supremely intelligent body and mind, and nature, Mother Nature, is there to support us in looking after it. So, ideally, in Ayurveda, we are all supposed to live Shata Ayu, like 100 years.
Hmm.
And we are meant to live healthy 100 years, not necessarily, and 120 even. So, we're not meant to be living diminished lives with too many problems. We are meant to be aging. Aging is natural, but it need not be dramatic. And we can slow down the aging, or we can make it supernatural versus dramatic. So there is the concept, for example, a concept of rasayana or immunity, and we have various adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogenic herbs improve your response to stress, emotional stress or physical stress, and even the stress of aging and wear and tear. And in the deeper teachings in our texts, we find teachings on that every 10 years, the body is aging and it is having biological losses and compensatory requirements. So every 10 years, we should add a special herb. Like, for example, from age birth to 10 years, we should add the herb Bala. Bala is an
Hmm.
herb which helps with muscle growth and physical dexterity. And then from 10 to 20, we should be, for example, taking amalaki, which is Indian gooseberry, because it improves our youth and our beauty and our vitality. So right up till 100 years, it's cognizant that between 40 and 50, your vision will be challenged. Between
Uh-huh.
50 and 60, your skin will be challenged. And for example, I'm now 53, 54 in between. When you reach that age, you don't remember exact age. but I know the herb of my decade that I should
Wow.
take, and so that my skin can remain the best possible without needing makeup or foundation or artificial things. So this knowledge of how to maximize and optimize nature's intelligence working with us. It seems like Ayurveda has figured out what you need in a day-to-day basis, seasonal basis, and age basis, and
Mm,
even role basis. Like when you're a young girl, you may need different set of support when you're just mensurating. But when you're
mm.
planning your pregnancy, you're pregnant, you've delivered, you're menopause, just speaking for women.
Right, right.
Then we have different set of recommendations for men, different for aging, different for teenagers. Oh my God, I mean, this knowledge should be taught in high schools and primary schools, and mothers should have it, and we'd all be healthier for it. And every student, every seeker and student I have touched over my several decades, they start leading healthy lives. They
Yeah,
don't have drama no more, and they thank
right.
me. But I always remind them that we're so karmically fortunate, as you felt when you read Dr. Lad's book, and then you took a trip to India and you got, so blessed. You left a career of 2 decades to pursue Ayurveda. Why? Because it's the truth. And
Uh-huh.
we humans need this support, and we need this harmonious relationship with nature. Well, that. And when we work with nature, so it is said in Sanskrit, there is a teaching, Ayusho Vedaha Ayurveda, which means Ayurveda is the Veda of Ayush, long life, happy life, vital life. And Veda means the knowledge. It is the knowledge. If you want to be happy, you want to be vital, you want to live your due life, not be shortened because of ill health, then go for Ayurveda. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, so good. You're already answering all my questions combined, but you just started talking about anti-aging, and I don't think that there's anybody on the planet that doesn't think about aging or worry about aging. And the other thing is happiness too, right? Um, what are some Ayurvedic secrets for just general secrets for
Yeah,
anti-aging?
I think sleep, sex, and food. These are considered, as you know, the three pillars of health. These are known as the stambhas or pillars of health. So I feel that we should focus on sleep. But to be able to sleep well, we need to lead our day pretty calmly and with balance. It's not just an option of we think about sleep when we hit the bed. Why isn't it
Right.
coming? Why isn't it coming?
Yeah.
But actually, sleep is connected to how you spend your waking day. Did you eat on time? Did you eliminate on time? Did you walk enough, or were you just sitting watching, binging on, Netflix or something? What were
Right.
you doing? So good sleep represents a day well spent being awake.
Mm,
So sleep is very important because during sleep, according to Ayurveda and yoga, our whole being restores,
right.
and our spirit goes withdraws from the body, withdraws from the senses, withdraws from the minds, and touches God or goddess internally. So we wake up not remembering anything much, but like, yeah, I slept well. Like we wake
Ah,
up happy if we've had a good
yeah.
sleep. Why? Because we visited our deeper being there in sleep. So one is sleep is really important, and Ayurveda teaches a lot about it. And then that's why in my book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom, I dedicated a whole chapter to it. And I have people who are writing to me from all over the world saying these few little simple tips, like oiling my feet with, with hot oil, sesame oil at bedtime, or applying a little bit on the top of my head or my ears, or chanting a certain mantra or deep breathing. It's changed my life. Or drinking a certain recipes that I have shared, it changes your life. These are
Right.
ancient teachings, but they work. So sleep is really important for anti-aging. If we don't sleep well, we age faster, and all our organs age faster, and our skin and our beauty lessens, and our enthusiasm gets affected. Next is food. Food is medicine. So in Ayurveda, it is said that if food is right, you don't need medicine. Okay.
Right.
And if food is wrong, then medicine will be of no use.
Right. Right.
So
Famous
therefore,
proverb.
exactly. So food, and so we have a concept of eating according to your age, the season, the time of the day, that, all those things. So you want to go into those. We just eat like, like we read a magazine article, something looks good, we eat it, we order it, we come across a restaurant, we order it, or we follow our taste buds. But Ayurvedic cuisine can be quite delicious,
Yes.
also scientific. And when you start eating according to that, you are your best. I'm so happy right now, well, that I want to, like, show off a little bit, that I have students in every part of the world at this point. I have, student seekers, and I don't have a single case of corona as yet in my big
Wow.
worldwide community. And I may Divine Mother keep it that way, but I also feel because they might be eating right. That's one
Yeah.
thing. And that
Yeah.
improves your immunity. And the thirdly is sex. And it's interesting that, we human beings have put ourselves in knots around sex. And we've
Right.
somehow made celibacy very important, or being immaculate and perfect, being, like non-sexual.
Uh-huh.
But that is one perspective in spirituality, not its totality. And
Mm.
Ayurveda comes from a deeper spiritual tradition known as the Vedas from India, 10,000-year-old, and all the seers, men and women, who've contributed to Ayurveda and yoga were sexual, active, and because according to Ayurveda, when you have a regulated sex drive and a well expressed sex drive, not perverted, not
Right.
suppressed, and not impulsively indulged either. Just it's held with mindfulness. It leads to, it says, Ayurveda text says, beauty, intelligence, auspiciousness, blessing. So I feel like if you are in a sexually active stage of life, and say you may not have a sexual partner for now, but just being acknowledging your sexuality is really important. So it's
Huh.
interesting that these three things would be the best ways of becoming mindful, along with herbs that we can talk about, like ashwagandha, amalaki. These are all things that we can take and kind of build our immunity.
We're going to come to that. I'm so happy that you are speaking about sex, healthy sex and sexuality, because actually it's something that I didn't really know what Ayurveda says about it in the way that you're explaining it, but it makes sense. I mean, all of Ayurveda is totally a logical science and healing system to me. So it makes absolute sense that a healthy, strong sex life um, nourishes a person
Yes.
and helps with anti-aging and helps with
Yes.
immunity. So thanks for sharing that. That was a good one. And
Oh yeah, totally. And I talk about it all the time because as a spiritual teacher and as an Ayurveda teacher, I found that we have a lot of judgment around our own sexuality. So we need to
yeah,
calm down, stop pointing fingers at each other, understand our own rhythms, understand our age, and understand Ayurveda's recommendations on sexuality. For example, it even goes into details around sexual positions. It talks about, intercourse not after a full meal,
hmm
but a few hours later. So even those teachings are helpful. And they can be found easily through my writings. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, so that's a topic on its own that anybody
Yes.
can take a workshop, read a book. That's its
Yep.
own topic. That's so great. So I'd love to get into a little bit about herbs and like for example, Aroma Veda uses a lot of beautiful key ingredients that are found in Ayurveda, like gotu-kola and neem and many things for anti-aging, but beautiful benefits that they have for the skin. What are a few herbs that you can speak to that help with, obviously I don't even want to call it the superficialness, the outside layers of the skin, but anti-aging as in dry skin, wrinkling, things like that. And what are some of the herbs that help with so many skin conditions? There are so many people struggling with psoriasis and eczema and different kinds of acne. And how does Ayurveda address the root causes of these things? And
No,
what herbs are out there? What powerhouses can you speak to as far as herbs and flowers, anything that comes to mind?
yeah, I want to say that just like you said, sexuality is its own topic. I think beauty and skincare is its own topic. Actually, Ayurveda is an ocean made up of several oceans.
Yes.
So they all take a whole lifetime to study. But I do, because I'm a woman and I have grown up worshiping the divine feminine. So
Mm-hmm.
I have always, taught on beauty and not just for women, but for men too. Like
Mm-hmm.
because skin is the largest organ in the body, and the skin is our first defense system. And like I
Mm.
said, skin is the mirror of our being. So if our skin is shining and radiant, there is a chance that something is right inside us too. So we can when we're looking after our skin, we're actually looking after our entire body. So in some of my workshops, I even talked about entire body packs, and
Yes.
I always go out into the garden and in the nature. So on my website, our listeners can find my teachings on, I call them Ayurveda ancestral teachings on herbs. And
Mm.
I have gone into like just all the flowers used by Ayurveda and
Yeah.
gone into those details. But I would say just some of the common topics you picked up, and you're already familiar with them. For example, acne. And acne can really benefit from neem, even
Yes.
just the neem dried powder of the leaf. Just mix it with water and apply a little dab on your acne or the skin that tends to get inflamed, and keep it on for half hour or so, and then wash it off with cool water or tepid water. And neem is not just like an antibacterial, but neem is a purifier of the blood, and
Mm.
it pacifies pitta or the heat, and
Yes.
it balances kapha. So what happens is the skin gets the food it needs to balance itself.
Yes.
There is a big tongue twister Sanskrit word that I'm gonna just throw it out there, and
Do
it's
it.
called Swabhavo Paramvad, and what it really means from Ayurveda is that your body wants to heal itself. It
Yeah.
is super intelligent. It just needs your support, and then it will do what it needs. So, neem is, for example, something I love to use for oily skin and blemish prone skin. And then we all grow roses, and a
Mm.
little paste of roses with with milk and cream, or just by water, applied on skin for rosacea and burning skin or redness is amazing. I remember once at my school in Vedika Global, we used to do these community sanghas or meets. We had hundreds of people come over, and we told everybody to bring roses, and everybody pulverized the roses and then stuck them and just lay down. I
Oh,
tell
it
you,
must
when
have
everybody
smelled
woke up,
divine.
I know it was like 100 people with blessed by roses. They were like people had tears, people felt like heat had and calmed down. And one of the benefits of roses, it's not just a beauty herb, but in Sanskrit it is known as hridya, which means it calms the mind. So if you're
Hmm.
anxious, you just take a rose and keep smelling it till you calm down. And when you apply it in a face pack or you use your aroma products, people will feel this great, benefit of mind and body. And then, of course, we have, more herbs that I can talk about, like the marigolds. The marigolds are great when you have redness and oiliness because the marigolds help with pitta kapha. And what people are like, what? Just like marigolds? I'm like, yep, just go out there. The leaves and the petals, they both are like high level medicine. So I've had people who've been using these herbs and they go to my classes and they check them out. Fortunately, some of my students made sure they are recorded and they're there for posterity. And I believe you heard me with David Crow on the Shift Network
Yes.
talking about herbs and aromas because while I'm a spiritual teacher of the spirit, I feel very comfortable with plants. And if you came to my home in the hills here, I have a backyard full of herbs and flowers and trees that I take care of myself. And I water each one of them every day in the busy lifestyle of authoring books, speaking, teaching. I don't forget to water my plants and trees and herbs because they feed me and they bless me. So it's a very touchy topic because it touches my heart when I talk
I
about
understand. I totally understand. I feel the same way about flowers and herbs, and there's no separation. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story with
yeah,
that in a few questions from now. But I totally feel the same way you do about them.
yeah.
They're very
And anybody
powerful,
who
very
wants to
beautiful.
study Ayurveda but doesn't smell the roses and doesn't pulverize the herbs like you were mentioning me and doesn't feel the herbs in their face, they have not even met the Divine Mother in Ayurveda as yet.
Ah, beautiful explanation.
Yeah.
So there's three words that recently I've been using to describe my own personal experience with Ayurveda, and those three words are truth, beauty, and purpose. Because
Ah,
I feel like that's what Ayurveda has given to me, and I feel like now I want to be able to give that to as many people as possible. But what are those from a spiritual perspective? What does that really mean? What does truth really mean? What does true beauty really mean? And why is it important for somebody to discover and find their life's purpose?
hmm. Well, the truth, it's interesting. At first, I like your choice of three words, and they show me what level you are looking at engaging with Ayurveda. So I like that.
Thank
You know,
you.
it's way beyond just the doshas. And, I mean, the doshas are a great opening door, but you have to go deeper. And that's
Yes.
what my teachings are all about, to go deeper. And each person will walk away with their three words, probably. But I think the truth from my perspective in Ayurveda is the truth of self.
Yes.
And Ayurveda has described the true self as Atma. And Atma can be defined as Apanoti iti sarvam Atma, which means that which is boundless. So the
Mm.
discovery of your boundless health, your boundless joy, your boundless nature, your boundless flexibility is one of the goals. I think the search of truth is we study something like Ayurveda or Chinese medicine or even Western medicine. I mean, purportedly, we go to our doctor or to our hospital to find something that has become constrained to make it unconstrained.
Mm.
And Ayurveda has actually laid it out there saying you have a body, you have a mind, but you are a beautiful, boundless being, and you need to discover that. And so when we heal ourselves or come into wholeness with our mind, we're really touching and coming back. By touching that self is when the actual healing takes place. You can put neem all you want in your face, but the people who put neem on their face and find a God experience, and those who just say, oh, yeah, what's so what? The difference is somebody touched their self. They relaxed into it and they surrendered into a deeper healing. So truth for me is truth of spirit, and that's why I support Ayurveda
Mm.
because everything is touched by that self. And even when we go to trees or herbs, it's the same self in them blessing us.
Right.
So, we bow to the Tulsi or we bow to the Ashwagandha, and literally there are mantras which say, thank you for allowing me to benefit from your body, but you and I are one deep inside. Beauty perspective, I feel, is that beauty is health.
Yes.
Yeah. Health and beauty go together. Um, health is not health. Wherever there is health, there is beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. And purpose for me means a life of purpose is a life of coming back to our re-engagement, reacquaintance, like the prodigal son returning home. It's like we children who walked away from Mother Nature's lap and abused her and raped her and taken her for granted and hurt her. We can go back. So I feel like Ayurveda, when it really comes to you in a true form, gives you your life purpose to become simple and less demanding and more grateful of Mother Nature. And you want to walk softly on earth
Right.
so that your footsteps don't cause anyone any damage.
Ah, you melt me. So beautiful how you speak.
Yeah.
This next question is a little bit about a continuation of what we're speaking. So when I first started to study in 2009 and I went to India, I was sharing with you before the call, I had such a profound transformation happen when I really cleaned my body on a cellular level. So I wasn't just studying Ayurveda and what it means to do powerful cleansings, panch karma, but to experience it was another thing. So to be in a room for 30 days and not go outside and to be with my own mind and my own spirit and to feel such a transformation happening because I've given myself that time and because I believed in Ayurveda and I believed in my doctor at that time. Um, there was a tree I remember that I was looking. I had a window, a room with a window, and I made best friends. There was a tree outside of my window, and one day I was coming upstairs from my treatment, and suddenly I hear a guy with a um, like a what do you call this motor? He was
Mhm.
chopping down the tree branch, and I felt like my arm was getting chopped off. I felt so powerfully connected to this tree that it felt like it was me that it was cutting my arm off. And it might sound woo to some people. I don't know. I just know what it meant for me. And I understood in that moment the true power and connection that Ayurveda gives to people if they truly embrace it. And this is on a deeper level. When we talk about macrocosm and microcosm, where the five elements are everywhere, they're also in here. So there was no difference between me and that tree. And I feel like ever since then, my perception of life and my perception of everything shifted. Um, so I mean, I wanted you to explain, if you can, a little bit on how Ayurveda works on the deep cellular level for healing to take place, for people to come to know their true nature. How does it work?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a beautiful description. And I think here, when we're talking about Ayurveda working at a cellular level, what you did have was like a spiritual relationship with the tree, with the macrocosm around you. And so then we are entering what is known as Ayurveda, Vedic Ayurveda, integrated with the sciences of yoga and
Mm,
Vedanta, non-duality, where you
right,
feel oneness with all beings. And from that perspective, then a clean room, like say your personal space,
right,
impacts the space within you. If you sit near a waterfall, it will impact the water element within you. But then you have to get to this space mentally, which you described to me earlier, how you stayed in this room for 30 days without any kind of distraction. So you were actually in a state of yoga with yourself and with whatever was in your field without trying hard to change it.
Hmm.
And what was karmically determined to be there was this tree. It could have been something else. It could have been a building,
Right.
but it was this tree. And so when you were in this, so a pure mind is a no mind. So when
Correct.
you are in a pure mind slash no mind space, you are purely then the soul, the self, the spirit, the boundless one. And at that level, everything around you is affecting you at a very deep level, pain as well as joy. So if that tree went into buds or blossoms, it would create a blossom within you too. Now, this is a deeper level of conversation because not many people can get there, but I do want to acknowledge that when you study Ayurveda with teachers like myself who teach the entire Vedas, not just
Mm.
the Ayurveda, I find how Ayurveda is talking to everybody.
Yes.
Somebody may want to go to Ayurveda and say, wait, I just want to fix this pimple on my nose or cheek. And okay, apply this, eat this, eliminate some, have a purge, you're good to go, you're cleansed, and the pimple will resolve. But
Right.
somebody might say that I want to get rid of this tendency to have pimples. And
Mm-hmm.
we can say, you know what? Have a panchakarma, like, cleanse your entire being, and it's going to keep you clean for a good year or so. If you go to a good place and have it done properly, you'll be in a very good place. And then somebody might say, it's not just about the pimple. I want to know, why do I fluctuate between disease and health when I know that my destiny is health? Why do I even have this movement towards pain and suffering? And that's when you go into deeper cellular level cleansing. And this
Mm.
is where then we have to go into non duality in a state of yoga. Now, the same mind in which you were in symphony with that tree and its arm cutting off was like your arm cutting off. You could also use the same beautiful mind if you get in that zone and reimagine health for yourself at a cellular level and bless that tree without its arms. So it's like, so joy and sorrow become a mental choice,
Right.
a use of our lucid imagination, and creation of an alternate reality through the usage of mantras and presence and blessings. So I hope I didn't go somewhere else.
No,
But
no, it's okay. No,
okay.
it's perfect.
Okay. So that was
Um,
beautiful, whatever that moment you had of yoga with that. Yeah, tree.
yeah, it doesn't leave me, and I think ever since then, it's just how I see life.
Yeah.
I'm in California now, so everywhere I look, I see beauty. I mean, there's flowers everywhere. There's hills. There's water. There's a lake here where I live. So it feels like the everything is one. I feel the interconnectedness. I don't feel the separation. It just feels perfect,
Yeah, the
how it should
non-dual
be.
vision, it heals a lot of pain of alienation and estrangement for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So last question. I was listening to one of your satsangs, and I'm going to read this so I make sure I get it right. You said mind and spirit are as important as the doshas in the body. That was the quote from one of your satsangs. So it's a continuation, I think, of what we're speaking. So we have the doshas, and then we have mind and spirit. So when you say that they're as important, probably if not more important, like, can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, we have this trend to fix the doshas, which is healthy, and I teach it too by changing your food or changing your lifestyle. And I wrote a whole book on it. But if
Mm,
you read my book, you'll find that I keep persuading the mind to be in a better place too. Because if the mind is not aligned, and then, you can learn all you want about the doshas, but they will be non-cooperation. You'll drink a certain healthy tea, or apply a certain face pack for half a day, and then even if people offer to do it for you, it will feel too much. So the mind has to want to recover from the, I would say, the original wound of worthlessness, insignificance, and purposelessness. And that's why I'm a teacher of philosophy. And I bless you, my dear child. You're as old as my son. That may you continue this journey of bringing people to a more full spectrum invitation, because otherwise the mind is running here and there, and you put the body in a few little habits and then you self sabotage. So mind is, I think mind is the big player here.
Yes.
They say in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Manushya eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksha yoho. The same mind can become the reason for bondage in suffering and addictions and attachments and clingy behavior or self-sabotage. And the same mind can become the harbinger of liberation and harmony and cooperation. So mind is very important. We can't just say, oh, I just work at the body level, it's all going to fix. And ancient Ayurveda, classical Ayurveda, was not without contemplations on mind. Charak Samhita, our ancient text, is not just a teaching of physical body. It's a huge, he's a psychologist. Charak Samhita,
Mm.
Charaka, the teacher who gave us all about doshas, he predates Freud and Jung and all these teachers. So I'm writing a book now. My next book is on Ayurveda psychology and the deep mind and Dharma teachings about how to be ethical and why it should bother to you if the trees outside your window gets cut down and you're not separate and all of that. So if the mind is not connected, you can't really work on the body. And then from the soul perspective, we're all spirits and we are all, according to Ayurveda, we need to find a certain direction in our life. So if the direction of the soul, embodied soul, is only to have fun, enjoy itself, eat what its senses tell it to eat, have sex with whoever you want to have sex with, no matter how many dosha balancing teas you drink, sooner or later your life is a problem waiting to happen to you, you know.
Right.
But if the soul is saying, I want to make a U-turn, I want to become the master of my life, I don't want my senses to tell me what I should eat, who I should play with, who I should keep a distance with.
Mm.
I want to be a sovereign being. That's why my next book coming out this winter is called The Sovereign Self.
Mm.
Sovereignty should be our theme. And as a soul, I can, and soul is, the spirit is stronger than the mind. So when the spirit becomes determined that I don't want my lifetime to be wasted, the mind becomes more contained and the body starts shining as a result. So I lament the diminution and the minimization of a great potential in Ayurveda to merely saying, drink this tea, eat this powder, and this is, you've been to India. It's, I mean, nowhere is it more obvious than in the country of its own origin, India, because
Right.
India went through colonization and its own Indians' own knowingness got colonized. And so
Mm.
now we're just following the Western medicine paradigm. But I am appealing to look at Ayurveda on its own feet
Right.
and look at the mind, body, soul, and not just give the mind, soul like, you just say it. You really got to work. So I have worked with countless people who've not had success in the past, who have indefeatable diseases, but they have defeated them. And I talk about them in my book. And the reason for that was that, say you're working with somebody with the eating disorder. They throw up every time, they bulimia or something like that, or anorexia, or even multiple sclerosis, or even infertility. When you go deep down, it's the mind. And when you go then still deeper, it is the soul. And it needs to be connected to something divine and bigger inside them. So I guess that's a long answer to what you asked, but
No, it's perfect, and I hope everybody finds you and discovers you and learns from you because and
well,
I think it's truly important to continue to speak about the mind and how important the mind and the spirit and the soul are in how we really truly live health, live uh, ourselves, you know.
Well,
Um,
we just have to believe in what we believe in. Like 12 years ago, I started my school with like 30 students who believed in me. And now we have students in every part of the world. And my book has
amazing.
been translated in 7 languages and more coming. So it's like you believe in it, more voices come your way. And more than that, you help yourself and whoever wants to walk with you. That's all you do.
Right,
That's it,
right.
you
But
know,
you got to start.
you
Everybody's
got
got
to
to start.
start.
That's the
Yeah.
most important thing. Thank you, Om. I mean, thank you so much for
Blessing.
taking the time again and answering
Yeah.
these questions. I hope I can speak with you again on specific topics at a later date, but I hope everybody benefits from our talk today.
Many blessings. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you so much.